Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. A military helicopter spraying a sticky decontamination fluid, purportedly to reduce the spread of radioactive particles around the Chernobyl nuclear plant on April 29, 1986. American soldiers crouching behind a barge bulkhead, gearing up to land for the Normandy invasion in 1944. This image captures the tense moments before they stormed the beaches on June 6, 1944, a turning point in World War II. An injured Hindenburg survivor smokes while being carried to safety on May 6, 1937. The Hindenburg disaster, which saw the airship explode during its landing, was one of aviation's most tragic events. Gettysburg, 1913. In the photo, soldiers are gathered at the Bloody Angle, where 3,000 soldiers died during the Battle of Gettysburg, one of the most significant engagements of the American Civil War. An elderly woman who fled the war zone with her cow sits on a bench in Amiens, France, on March 28, 1918. During World War I, many were forced from their homes and properties to escape destruction. A young girl working in a cotton mill in South Carolina around 1908. With the Industrial Revolution, child labor became more prevalent, with many children employed in textile factories and industries. French soldiers of the 49th Infantry Regiment playing cards in the trenches during the winter of 1916. A soldier returning home in Vienna, Austria, around 1945. After World War II ended, many European cities like Vienna witnessed emotional homecomings of soldiers. The last photograph of the world's third richest man, Albert Lowenstein, as he boarded his plane in 1928. During the flight, he would use the onboard restroom and then mysteriously disappear. The heavy MAZ 7310 transporter carrying a tank to store liquid hydrogen during the construction of the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, Soviet Union in 1962. 21,000 U.S. soldiers forming the figure of then-President Woodrow Wilson in September 1918. During World War I, soldiers often took part in symbolic activities like this to show support for the war effort and U.S. leadership. Two Bopoto individuals with sharpened teeth, a cultural practice in some African tribes. Dental modification, such as tooth sharpening, was seen as a rite of passage or identity marker in certain communities. Robert Huddleston and the pony, who had a congenital defect in his knees and elbows, causing his joints to point outward. He worked for the circus for 36 years, from 1895 to 1970. A fair barker standing beside sideshow performers at the Donaldsonville State Fair in Louisiana in 1938. An unidentified performer draws a crowd to Coney Island's Dreamland Wild Animal Arena for a show in New York during the 1910s. Bearman, the bearded dwarf crawling on all fours at Valley Fair in 1938. At that time, circus fairs and variety shows were a popular form of entertainment. A gathering of Dakota Indians in the 1880s. At that time, indigenous tribes like the Dakota faced significant challenges due to U.S. westward expansion. The area directly behind the circus tent, where artists and performers waited and made their entrances, became known as the Backyard in 1928. Moving an apartment building to make way for an avenue in Blaj, Romania in 1987. Such urban projects were part of efforts to modernize cities and improve infrastructure, often requiring entire buildings to be relocated. Damaged buses served as makeshift housing during a severe housing shortage in Tokyo, Japan on October 2, 1946. Americans raising funds to support laid-off auto workers in 1982. A hammer strike on a Japanese car symbolized protest against growing foreign competition in the auto industry, especially from Japanese vehicles. A damaged statue head depicting a Soviet leader during the 1956 Hungarian Revolution. The revolution was a series of protests against the Soviet regime in Budapest. A French contortionist around 1865. During the 19th century, contortion acts were popular in circuses and fairs worldwide. A Japanese family returning to their home in Los Angeles after World War II in 1945. During the war, many Japanese-American families were forced to live in internment camps due to suspected loyalty to Japan. At age 16, a young Walt Disney served as a Red Cross ambulance driver during World War I. Before becoming an animation icon, Disney volunteered and performed various duties throughout the war. Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, poses after winning the light heavyweight boxing gold medal at the Summer Olympics in Rome. The Colosseum in Rome, Italy, in 1944. At that time, Italy was in the midst of World War II, and Rome was occupied by German forces until its liberation in 1944. A Union Field Hospital in Michigan during the 1860s. During the American Civil War, field hospitals were set up to care for wounded soldiers on the battlefield. Lyndon B. Johnson being sworn in as president with Jackie Kennedy, wife of President John F. Kennedy, by his side. The ceremony took place after Kennedy's assassination on November 22, 1963. Work began on Mount Rushmore in 1927. The construction of this iconic monument in South Dakota's Black Hills started with carving the faces of 4 U.S. presidents. The designers of double-decker buses demonstrating their safety in 1930. At that time, double-deckers started to become popular in various cities, including London, thanks to their higher passenger capacity. On September 13, 1929, Alexander Fleming publicly presented his discovery of penicillin. This milestone in medical history revolutionized the treatment of bacterial infections and saved millions of lives, marking one of the 20th century's greatest scientific advances. Repair in midair. Pilots Jackson and O'Brien attempt to break the long-distance flight record. At that time, long flights were challenging due to limited technology. A technician performing maintenance on telephone lines at the Central Office Building on East 30th Street in New York City, USA, in 1930. A portable, extendable bridge invented by L. Death in the Netherlands in 1926. This innovation was designed to facilitate the construction of quick, temporary bridges, especially in emergency situations or hard-to-reach areas. Overloaded wires in Pratt, Kansas in 1911. At that time, electrical and telecommunications infrastructure was rapidly expanding in the United States, and scenes like this were common in growing towns. Members of the Ringling Brothers' Freaks lineup pose for a group photo in 1924. The Ringling Brothers were known for their circus and its display of exceptional and unique attractions, some of which were seen as freak shows. Muhammad Ali posing with a group of women in the 1960s. Ali, one of the greatest boxers of all time, was widely known not only for his ring skills, but also for his charismatic personality. A popular 19th century treatment using electricity to address various conditions, often controversially. Electrotherapy was seen as an innovative method, but could cause discomfort and, in some cases, adverse effects. The Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, Spain, photographed during its construction in 1905. The famous basilica, designed by Antoni Gaudí, began construction in the late 19th century and remains unfinished to this day. Restoration work at Stonehenge in 1957. During that time, preservation efforts were intensified to ensure the conservation of this famous prehistoric monument. The construction of the world's first Ferris wheel for the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. Designed by George Washington Gale Ferris Jr., the wheel was a major attraction and became an engineering icon. An overnight intercontinental service aboard the Stratocruiser in the 1940s. The Stratocruiser was one of the era's most luxurious aircraft, offering long-range travel in comfort. Filming of Godzilla movies from 1954 to 1965. During this period, Godzilla became an icon of Japanese and global cinema, with films capturing audiences' imaginations as the famous monster destroyed cities. The first day after Sweden switched from left-hand to right-hand driving in 1967. The change was a major national event aimed at improving road safety. A woman harvesting hay in Cogna, Italy in 1909. Photo by Pepe Mauricio. During this period, agricultural work was mostly done by hand, and field labor was an essential part of rural life in Italy. This 1936 proposal aimed to make the Eiffel Tower's second level accessible. Originally built for the 1889 World's Fair, the Eiffel Tower underwent several modifications over time to improve public accessibility and use. Tourists and their guides climbing the stones of a pyramid around the late 1800s. At that time, pyramids were popular tourist attractions, and many expeditions explored the ancient wonders of the world. An old photograph of a fisherman in the Orkney Islands, Scotland. The Orkney Islands, located off Scotland's northern coast, have a long fishing tradition, and this image captures a moment of daily life in the region in the late 19th century. A motorcycle at the Champ de Mars in Paris, France in 1922. The Champ de Mars, a large public park in Paris, has been a popular venue for events and activities throughout history. Suma Lamonte, a circus performer, showcasing her juggling skills around 1973. Kazimierz Szosland, 1933. Szosland was a Polish photographer and artist whose images documented significant historical moments. In 1933, he captured scenes reflecting the lives and challenges people faced during that period. Yoon Clyde sunbathing under a cellophane blanket in 1932. At that time, health and wellness practices like sunbathing were beginning to gain popularity. A beauty class at the Helena Rubinstein Salon in New York City in 1958. At that time, beauty salons were popular venues where women learned skincare and makeup techniques. An aerial view of the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles in the 1920s. The image shows the stage and seating area extending up the hillside, creating a unique outdoor performance setting. High above New York, two cleaners wash an eagle ornament at the corner of the Chrysler Building in 1932. The Chrysler Building, one of the city's most iconic structures, was nearing completion at that time. The assembly line at a Ford plant stopped on the day of Henry Ford's funeral, April 10, 1947. Henry Ford, founder of the Ford Motor Company, was a central figure in the Industrial Revolution and the development of mass production. The funeral of Tomáš Masaryk, founder and first president of Czechoslovakia, in Prague in September 1937. Masaryk was a key figure in establishing modern Czechoslovakia, and his passing was a significant national event reflecting his historical and political importance. An African-American family poses for a photograph in 1904. At that time, photographs were an important means of recording family and historical moments, especially for Black communities that were often underrepresented in mainstream narratives. An Inuit mother and her child at Cape Prince of Wales, Alaska, in 1927. This image captures the daily life of an Inuit family, a people known for their unique adaptation to the Arctic environment. Steven Spielberg on the E.T. set with Harrison Ford and Ford's future wife, screenwriter Melissa Matheson, in 1983. An Italian family riding a Lambretta scooter in Sicily in 1963. The Lambretta was an urban mobility icon in Italy during the 1950s and 1960s, offering an affordable, practical transportation alternative. The Guinness Brewery in Dublin, Ireland in 1910. Guinness is one of the world's best-known beer brands, and its Dublin brewery has a long history as an icon of Ireland's beverage industry. Filming of Star Wars inside the Millennium Falcon. The franchise's iconic ship was one of the series' most recognizable sets, with its cockpit and highly detailed interior. Students on a Ferris wheel in Kyiv, Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, in 1986. The photo captures a moment of leisure and fun, contrasting with the period's political and social context, especially the impact of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Audrey Hepburn reviewing a script before recording a program for the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, on United Nations Radio around 1953. Installing the access roadway during the Golden Gate Bridge construction in San Francisco around 1936. Building the Golden Gate was an impressive engineering feat, overcoming technical and financial challenges. Nicolas Cage and his father, August Coppola, in 1988. Nicolas Cage, one of Hollywood's most renowned actors, is the son of writer and professor August Coppola. Malcolm X looking out the window of his apartment in 1964. At that time, Malcolm X was a prominent figure in the United States civil rights movement. A group of friends camping in Golden Gate Park, California, beside a Briscoe sedan in 1920. Final scene. Charlie Chaplin with the leading actress. Chaplin, renowned for his comedic talent and ability to convey deep emotions without words, often worked with actresses in starring roles in his films. Sophia Loren, the legendary actress. Known for her elegance, talent, and commanding presence, Loren is one of Italian and international cinema's greatest stars. A television in a car in 1965. At that time, portable TVs were beginning to be integrated into cars, reflecting technological advances and growing demand for entertainment on the go. An early morning train in Japan in 1964. This scene was common in large cities like Tokyo, where commuters traveled long distances to work. The New Hampshire Orphans' Home, a state-run orphanage on Daniel Webster's farm that operated from 1871 to 1959. During its operation, the institution provided shelter and care for many children. A young girl during the Great Depression in the 1930s. This period was marked by economic and social hardships in the United States and worldwide, with many families facing poverty and lack of resources. An 18-year-old Brigitte Bardot danced on a rooftop in Paris in 1952. At that time, Bardot was already rising as one of French cinema's biggest stars, known for her beauty and unique style. Kiki Hawkinson won the first Miss World pageant in 1951. Håkansson from Sweden made history as the first woman to claim the Miss World title, an event that would be held annually and become one of the world's most prestigious beauty contests. Anthony Perkins on the set of Psycho in 1960. Directed by Alfred Hitchcock, the film is one of the greatest classics of psychological horror. Tony Hawk at his local skate park in the 1980s. Hawk, a skateboarding legend, was a key figure in the rise of vertical skating and the sport's popularization. The official handover ceremony of British Airways' first Concorde at London Heathrow Airport on January 15, 1976. The mass-produced Ford Model T sold for $260 in 1924. Known as the People's Car, the Model T was one of the first automobiles made at scale, making cars affordable for a large portion of the American public. The first photograph of the Queen with her eldest daughter, Victoria, the Princess Royal, taken by Henry Collin in 1844. Vending machines at the Greyhound bus terminal in Los Angeles in the 1950s. At that time, vending machines were an emerging innovation, offering convenience to passengers in public places such as bus stations. A woman carrying her children in a bucket on her head in Japan in the 1900s. Back then, it was common for women to use traditional, practical methods to carry their children and other items. King George V on a hunting trip in the Terai region of Nepal in 1911. During his reign, King George V took part in several hunting expeditions, reflecting British royalty's interest in outdoor sports and hunting in exotic locales. A young boy playing banjo with his best friend around the 1920s. At that time, the banjo was popular in the United States, especially in jazz and folk music. P.T. Barnum and General Tom Thumb in a photograph by Marcus Aurelius Root and Samuel around 1850. Tom Thumb, one of Barnum's greatest successes, was one of the first phenomena showcased in the circus, gaining worldwide popularity. The rebuilt Crystal Palace in Sydenham, England in 1855. Originally constructed for the Great Exhibition of 1851 in London, the Crystal Palace was an iconic iron and glass structure. Walt Disney telling a bedtime story to his grandson in 1955. This image reflects Disney's affectionate, family-oriented side. Beyond being an entertainment visionary, he cherished moments of warmth and connection with his family. Woody Allen and Diane Keaton on the Manhattan set in New York in 1979. Directed by Allen, the film is a cinema classic, and the chemistry between the two actors was a highlight of the production. Shelves of lost umbrellas in a lost and found office in Rome, Italy in 1964. Such offices were common in public places like train stations and airports, where forgotten items were held until claimed. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.